Yes, it is. We've got a sycamoose that we took outside of town before the Livermore was underneath it, and we keep 3. Respectfully acknowledge that the land on which we gather is the unceded traditional territory of the Shishwapnik. Approval of agenda. Recommendation that portable washroom and shower unit be added as a late item under item 6D, and that the committee of the whole meeting agenda for June 28th, 2023 be approved as amended. Councillor McCabe, Councillor Bushel, all in favor? Carried. Thank you. Adoption of the minutes. Recommendation that the minutes of the committee of whole meeting held on June 14th, 2023 be adopted. Councillor Rich, Councillor Bailey, all in favor? Carried. Okay, let's get started. Delegation, Sycamoose Community Heritage Registry, Barb Davison, Sycamoose Museum and District Historical Society Heritage Registry Committee. Barb, you have the floor. Welcome.
Thank you for the opportunity to present our Community Heritage Registry. Councillors on the Planning Advisory Committee have already seen a similar presentation. Our committee has put in several hundred hours since this project was first initiated last October. Scott Beeching facilitated the community-led initiative to help fill a gap with regards to formally recognizing the value of local heritage. It began when a community member wished to have their property added to a heritage registry, but discovered that Sycamoose does not have one. Our volunteer committee is composed of 6 community members and is sponsored by the board of the district of the Sycamoose and District Museum and Historical Society, that's a mouthful, with support from the district of Sycamoose. Several of our members are here, including Deb Heap and Victoria Simpson, and myself, Barb Davidson, as chair. Our main goal is for mayor and council to adopt this community heritage registry by resolution. And following this, our committee will disband and the registry will be administered by the district. Oops. How did I do that? There are many benefits to implementing a community heritage registry, both for the entire community and for individual property owners. The main purpose of creating a community heritage registry are to recognize and acknowledge our diverse past and to increase the profile of sites with heritage value. Additional community benefits include reconciliation, community direction, identity, and pride. Winston Churchill once said, "The longer you look back, the farther you can look back." While there are many community benefits, there are also benefits to property owners, such as awareness, access to mapping, special provisions, grants, and incentives. Each municipality can develop their own customized incentives, including, for example, bonusing, relaxation of bylaw requirements, property tax exemptions, grant programs, etc. Is it? A community heritage register is simply an official listing of properties identified by a local government as having heritage value or heritage character. It can be voluntary or mandatory. Our working committee recommends that the registry be voluntary at this point in time. A heritage register can include both sites designated in bylaws, such as the Red Barn, and non-designated heritage sites. What it is not. A property listed on the heritage register does not have any form of legal protection. Listing of a non-designated property does not restrict any future development actions proposed by an owner, but it gives council an opportunity to pause the issuance of permits for up to 60 days to explore options for conservation or enhancement of heritage features. Being on a heritage registry typically does not reduce property value. Our process. How was this registry created? Through our 8 committee meetings and workshops, we tailored this registry specifically for Sycamores by brainstorming our own vision statement, goals, themes, heritage values, and criteria. Our committee canvassed the community through a variety of means to solicit suggestions of sites that Sycamoreans feel have heritage value, including interviews with pioneers, hosting a booth at public events, a poster campaign, interactive mapping, and others. Our committee spent some time developing this vision statement. The Sycamores Community Heritage Registry is a dynamic document, part roadmap, part inspiration, that is shaping our future by celebrating our local identity, recognizing our tangible and intangible past from the first peoples forward to present day. We are very conscious that the history of Sycamores did not begin with the arrival of Europeans. And we considered including a section on the history in our document, but realized it would only capture the details of the past 200 years. We had several Zoom meetings with Splat Team staff to make them aware of our project and to determine if they had any interest in participating. Splat Team staff are interested, and at some point, they may wish to have cultural Indigenous stories included. Therefore, we see our community heritage registry as being flexible and open to change. Community heritage registries are intended to be unique within each community. Therefore, our committee was tasked with brainstorming themes and associated heritage values drawn from Sycamore's specific history. The 3 themes that our committee came up with are cultural environment, natural environment, and built environment. Each of these themes has been further divided into 8 to 14 heritage values per theme. If a property owner is interested in being included on our heritage registry, they must submit a package to Planning and Development Services that includes a statement of significance and a letter of consent. Following this submission, it will be reviewed by staff and or a council sanctioned committee such as the Planning Development Committee or a Heritage Committee. If deemed appropriate, the submission will be forwarded to council for deliberation, and if council agrees, they will nominate the property to the Heritage Registry by resolution. The last step is for the submission to be forwarded by staff to the province's Heritage BC branch within 30 days, so that it can in turn be added to the provincial Heritage Registry. A couple of notes. It is within council's authority to add heritage properties to the Community Heritage Registry without the owner's consent. In other words, to require mandatory participation. While this option may be considered in the future, our committee feels that the initial softer approach of being voluntary is more appropriate at this time, hence the requirement for letters of consent. Secondly, sites listed on the provincial registry must be real property, which is defined as being attached to the land. Several of the heritage resources identified by our community do not fall under this definition, such as the 1928 Godfreyson fire truck. Therefore, it can be on our heritage registry, but not the provincial registry. Here is an example of a statement of significance prepared by our committee. It can range from 1 to 3 pages. Each statement of significance has the following 5 sections, including a table of data, a brief description of the site, a description of its heritage values, followed by character defining elements, and finally, there is a section for related anecdotes or interesting stories. Committee members have prepared and included 7 statements of significance in the document for council to consider as the first nominations to the registry. Over 55 sites were identified by the public as having heritage value. We have assembled these sites into a spreadsheet that forms Appendix 1 at the end of our document. Here's an example taken from our spreadsheet. If property owners from any of these sites would like to be included on the Community Heritage Registry, they would have to go through the steps previously identified. This is community driven, and suggestions have been included without a judgment, but they have been divided into A and B lists based on criteria developed by the committee. Several sites outside the district boundaries in neighboring areas were submitted by the public. They have been tabulated and included at the end of the appendix. They've also been forwarded to CSRD planning staff. Through our process, this committee has come up with several recommended actions for both the museum and the District of Sycamores. We have included only the recommendations for the district on this slide, and the Heritage Registry document goes into more detail on each of these recommendations. Our first recommendation is straightforward: adoption of the registry by council. Our second recommendation, to include heritage in the district's strategic priorities. Thirdly, to initiate a heritage committee. Fourthly, continue including Splatching and the CSRD in the communication loop. And finally, executing ongoing processes by staff. In summary, we'd like to remind you that the purpose of the Community Heritage Registry is to recognize and acknowledge our diverse heritage and to increase its profile. The Community Heritage Registry is simply a list that does not impede development and that is proposed to be voluntary initially. That listed properties do not have the more restrictive heritage designation, and that sites are nominated to the registry by council. Our committee would be grateful if mayor and council could see fit to adopt these resolutions at their earliest convenience. That the District of Sycamores Community Heritage Registry, including the statements of significance, be adopted by council pursuant to section 598 of the Local Government Act, and that staff be authorized to submit all of the required documentation to the BC Heritage Branch. On behalf of the museum board, our committee and myself, thank you for your consideration and have a wonderful Canada Day. Are there any questions or comments?
Thank you very much, Barb. Councillor Rich.
Hi, I would just like to say thank you. The package was fabulous. I've been in Sycamores 50 years on and off. Councillor McCabe has beat me on that by what, 5 years maybe? 10, 15.
8, 9.
So Sycamores holds a lot of value. And I think these, we've grown up in a lot of these places, Red Barn, Bruin House, one of my best friends growing up as a child owned that house. So I've spent a million years of time in there. So I just really thank you for putting this together and bringing it to the community, because I think it's really important that we mark these places and continue to tell the story of Sycamore.
You're welcome.
Councillor Beach.
I would just like to echo their comments of Councillor Rich. It was really well done, and I too have lived in this area, not quite as long as Councillor Rich, but over 40 years in Sycamore. Not only that, I've been raised and schooled in the Shuswap all my life. So much of what you touched on has significance to family ties. And I was very moved by this, sorry, excuse me, it's emotional. Right down to the internment camps. I have family ties to a Japanese family in North Shuswap that was interred during the war. And yeah, so it was really a lovely experience to read through the heritage. Thank you for all the work. That was a huge amount of work. Excuse me for my emotionality.
You're welcome.
Councillor McCabe.
Yeah, thank you for that report, for the presentation that we've got together and in chronological order. If you could go back to the screen just before this one with the resolution, that might help council. Thank you. Yeah, I don't see this as very much additional work for staff forwarding this to the provincial registry. And I don't think it's a lot of work for council to consider any nominations for the registry. So thank you for your work, and I support this.
Thank you.
Councillor Bushel.
Through the chair, yeah, thank you very much, Barb. Great work you and your team put together, and it's great that we can bring this, to the community, and we're looking forward to passing this bylaw. I hope. Thank you.
Thanks.
Councillor Bailey.
Yeah, this is the second time I had the privilege of reading the report, and it's so well done. I appreciate it. And, you know, for me, it was interesting just to go through and see where some of the sites are, because I don't have the history of 40+ years in the area. So it was a real education, and I really appreciate all the hard work that you've done. Thank you.
Thank you.
Awesome. Anyone else? Thank you, Bart. Oh, Councillor McCabe.
Yeah, just a question through the chair, I guess, to staff. So we don't pass resolutions in committee of the whole, but could this be brought forward as a late item this evening or at a different council meeting, or how do we move forward with this?
Go ahead, Sarah.
Through the chair, the committee could recommend, make a recommendation that this be supported, and then it could come forward to a regular council meeting in the future.
Okay. We can, so that would be the Heritage Committee
Planning
or
development.
Planning and Development Committee? Or the Heritage Committee?
Committee of the whole, I think you're talking about.
Correct, through the chair, that the committee of the whole would support this recommendation.
Coming to another council meeting for adoption.
Correct.
Okay. Go ahead, Councillor McCabe.
Then I would like to recommend that the committee of the whole support this proposed resolution and bring it forward to council.
Councillor Bushel, all in favor? Carried.
Thank you.
It will be coming back to council.
Thank you.
You're very welcome.
Sarah, do I do anything with this?
You could leave it there.
Okay, moving right along. We have municipal food waste diversion program. So we have, is Jacob online right now from Food Cycle Science?
Yes.
Good
Afternoon, Madam Mayor and councillors and members of staff.
Welcome, Jacob.
Thank you very much. I'm just going to share my screen here and then I will get started. Okay, can you confirm you can see that?
Yep.
Perfect. Thank you very much. Before I get started, I just want to reflect what was just said, and that was a really nice presentation. I know I'm all the way over here in Ontario and don't have any direct ties to Sicamous, but Barb's presentation there, I thoroughly enjoyed watching that on my end. So with that being said, I will get started here. I just want to start by saying thank you very much for taking the time to have me present virtually today. My name is Jacob Hanlon, and I'm the Municipal Program Coordinator at Food Cycle Science, and I'm really excited to be here to discuss a food waste diversion program opportunity for the District of Sicamous. I believe Madam Mayor stopped by our booth at the FCM conference in Toronto recently. So nice to see a familiar face. And I just want to say that I'm about to go over quite a bit of information here in a short amount of time. So I ask that you stick with me, and I'm happy to answer any questions at the end of the presentation. So to briefly speak about who we are, Food Cycle Science is a Canadian company based out of Ottawa over here in Ontario, and we are 100% focused on food waste diversion solutions. We do this using our innovative technology called the Food Cycler. So the Food Cycler is sold direct to consumers with partnerships such as Vitamix and Breville, but we also put our solution into classrooms and through school boards through some of our partnerships with not-for-profit organizations and Eco Schools Canada. And then as well, we also put our solution into municipalities, and that's what I'm here today to speak about.
Jacob, could I just interject for one moment and preference why we're here? A prior council meeting, we decided that we needed a solution to composting because we're collecting raccoons and all sorts of little critters that we really don't want to have to deal with. So and some of them are becoming a problem. So we're looking for a solution to compost as opposed to putting it outside and leaving it composting and collecting. So ran into Jacob at Toronto at FCM and thought this might be a solution. So thanks, Jacob. Sorry, go ahead.
No problem. And I appreciate your comments. And yeah, just to add on to that, I'm just here to present this as information. At the end of the presentation, I'll obviously open it up to questions and take it from there. But for now, I'm just here to show what our program can do for a municipality like yours. So just to get back into it here, we help many small, rural, remote, northern communities as well with keeping food waste out of their landfills. We're currently working with 91 Canadian municipalities across 6 provinces and territories. And we have several communities in British Columbia who are running successful programs or are in the process of implementing them. Just to name a few off the bat here, we have programs in Tumbler Ridge, the District of Kent, the District of Mackenzie, and then our biggest project is over in Nelson, which I'll touch on a bit later. So the problem with food waste, I probably don't need to speak too much on this, but one of the major issues with it is that it is avoidable. It accounts for a large portion of our household waste. Sometimes it can make up 25 to 50%, and it's heavy, it freezes in the wintertime, and it's made up of mostly liquid. So then on top of that, when you put food waste into the landfill, it's responsible for generating harmful greenhouse gases. And all these factors make it so that food waste is a problem that in today's times, it's having a pretty strong impact on municipalities. So one of the impacts is because food waste makes up such a large portion of our waste stream, it is causing our landfills to fill up quickly. As we know, operating a landfill is costly, and we want to extend the lifespan for as long as we can. An environmental impact is that when organic waste is actually in the landfill, it produces methane gas because it's in that anaerobic environment where it doesn't have that normal aeration that helps with food waste breaking down and releasing CO2. It's squished down between tons and tons of waste, and without the access to oxygen down there, it actually releases methane, which is quite a bit more harmful than CO2. And then in our communities, as was just mentioned, when we put food waste in the garbage, it causes odors, and this is unpleasant for humans, of course. but typically attracts animals like bears and raccoons, and they like to go through our trash, and this causes a lot of problems. So removing food waste from the garbage eliminates all these issues, and it reduces the overall volume of whatever garbage is left to be picked up or to be dropped off. So this can save the district on hauling and disposal fees, it can save space in the landfill, and it can save residents on hassle and any extra waste fees that they might face. So we often get asked, haven't we solved this already? And there are green bins, which are common in bigger cities with high population density and the right infrastructure. But this can be cost prohibitive and it can be operationally challenging to implement. So many people in your community might backyard compost. And while we do think this is a great solution, unfortunately, it's not for everybody. Certainly not a year-round solution. And there's still the concern about bears and other animals. And then finally, the easiest solution is to continue to landfill organic waste. But as mentioned, the long-term impacts here are costly and harmful to the environment. So at Food Cycler, we proposed a different way to deal with our food waste. And this really focuses on making food waste very easy to deal with and right in our homes. So essentially, we built a small kitchen appliance about the size of a bread machine, and you put in your food waste, and this can include meat, poultry, fish, dairy, even some bones. And then you push a button, and in a matter of hours, you have a dry, sterile, odorless, and nutrient-rich soil amendment that comes out. The machine can be used anywhere that has a plug. Most people store it in their kitchen, their basement, even in a heated garage. And on average, the food cycle will process between 1 and 3 kilograms of food waste per cycle. Each cycle takes less than 8 hours to complete, so about an overnight cycle, and uses about 1 to 1.5 kilowatt hours of power per cycle. So it's about the equivalent to having a computer plugged in for the same amount of time in terms of the electricity costs. And then that resulting handful of dry, odorless soil amendment can be used in your garden, in an existing composting system. It can be given to a local farm or even a community garden. Now, we currently have 2 household solutions that can be used by residents within our municipal programs. And both machines are similar in size, about a cubic foot. But the FC30 there on the left, that has a 2.5 liter capacity, while the Eco 5 on the right has a 5 liter capacity. So we typically recommend the Eco 5 for larger households or homes that just produce a lot of food waste on a daily basis. But within our programs, we leave it up to residents during the registration period to decide which machine is best suited for their needs and for their household. And I'll just emphasize here briefly that in the cycle that takes less than 8 hours, there is about a 90% reduction in the weight and the volume of the food waste. And then that end product, not only is it greatly reduced, but it is full of nutrients and beneficial to soil health and plant growth. And I touched on these briefly, but this byproduct that's created, most people do enjoy using it in their own garden. It's nice to see what at one point was considered waste is now being used to help grow more food. But it can be put into a backyard composter or a tumbler. It can go to a compost site. It can be even to a local farm and a community garden as well. It can be added to a green bin where they are available. So we really don't want this to end up in the landfill. So we really have looked at all the options in terms of how to be able to keep this in use and kind of close that loop on the food waste. Now, from an environmental standpoint, the food cycler is a net negative carbon solution. And what this means is that just like planting trees or using solar panels, when you use a food cycler to avoid bringing food waste to a landfill, you are avoiding more greenhouse gases in the process than you're creating. And the same can't necessarily be said for other municipal operations, such as waste facilities or waste and recycling collection services, which actually rely on a large fleet of CO2 emitting vehicles. And then in addition to the environmental impact, the traditional method of managing waste is a heavily burdened system with unrelenting costs, trucking, labor, and maintenance. And with the food cycler, you have a truly decentralized approach that avoids unnecessary traditional labor costs. It avoids greenhouse gas emissions from trucking and improper food waste breakdown. And the infrastructural costs of municipality or residents are nothing compared to what they would be with a traditional program. Now, just to kind of speak about the results and what we've been hearing from our programs. So one thing we've learned from working with our municipal partners is that residents are quite interested in being part of the solution. They want to try new things, they want options, and they want their government to bring these things to their community. So with the food cycle, you get to bring something that's innovative and tangible to your residents. They don't need to live in a big city to be able to divert their organics. And we believe that food waste diversion should be available to all Canadians, no matter where they live. And so with the food cycler, we're reducing waste right at the source at that household level. And since food waste accounts for such a large portion of our household waste, it's one of the most impactful strategies to achieving any kind of diversion targets. Now, I mentioned earlier that we are working with 91 Canadian municipalities. To date, we've completed our pilot programs in over 40 municipalities and over 5,000 households. And what we found is the results have been overwhelmingly positive. We were able to achieve a significant amount of net new waste diversion. We have a generous user experience rating of 4.6 out of 5 stars and a 98% participation rate from residents within our programs. Many municipalities have expanded their programs to more households within their community once they've wrapped up their initial pilot program. So not too far from you in Nelson, for example, after 2 successful pilot programs, they're now in the process of putting a food cycler in every home in their city of 11,000 people. So a few months ago, Food Cycler was selected as a finalist in Impact Canada's Food Waste Reduction Challenge, which is a 3-part initiative from Agri-Food and Agriculture Canada to reduce Canada's food waste. So as a finalist, we were given a $400,000 prize, and we were tasked with finding more Canadian municipalities to invest in and have as implementation partners. So we're using this funding to invest directly into these pilot projects at a heavily subsidized price. And just a few more slides here before I wrap up, but just to go over what the typical pilot program looks like. So it's a 12-week project. Residents purchase a food cycler at a subsidized rate from their municipality, and then they use the unit for 12 weeks and they track the number of cycles per week. At the end of that period, residents get to keep their food cycler, and we ask them to complete a brief survey so that we can evaluate the program's success. And then we present these results back to you in a final report or a feasibility study. And then this data can be used to support your future waste management decision-making or to accompany a recommendation or a grant application to expand the program. And any final report writing or grant application support, those are things that we also offer as part of the program. So this is what the pricing structure looks like within our municipal programs. So they work based on a subsidy model where Food Cycle Science provides this initial discount to bring it down from the retail price. And then we add in that federal investment from Impact Canada. And this gets the price of each unit down by 50% compared to retail. And then we ask the municipality to subsidize by $100 per household, regardless of which unit the residents pick. And then the participating residents will choose which model best suits their household, and they'll contribute that remaining amount. And then after the 12-week pilot period, the food cycler is theirs to keep. So we have some pilot size recommendations here. For a district of your size, we would recommend the 100 household pilot program. Since the municipal subsidy is $100 per household, a 100 household program would require an investment of $10,000 plus shipping and tax. But I will highlight that these are merely recommendations. We have had municipalities smaller than yours start with 200 or 250 and vice versa. This is just based on our experience, and we're happy to tailor the program based on your needs or your budget. And I'll also mention that the federal portion of the program with that federal funding, it is limited. We expect it to run out by the end of this year. And that's not to put any pressure on, that's just being transparent. So basically with that funding, any municipalities that partner with us, they'll have access to that funding, and then they'll also have the right of first refusal on any subsequent funding that we get. So my last slide here before I wrap up, these are just some reasons that may resonate with you as to why you could consider piloting with us. The first is that you have the opportunity to trial this technology at a well below market rate and through a convenient procurement platform with Canoe Procurement. You'll also see immediate and impactful benefits such as waste diversion, lower disposal costs, reduced greenhouse gas emissions, and less wildlife attracted to the garbage. And then you can provide your constituents with a low-cost municipal service, all the while being a steward for the environment. So with all that being said, I'd like to welcome the District of Sicamous as a partner in this Food Waste Challenge. And we believe that your community would be a great fit for the benefits of the program. Today, I just kindly ask that you receive the presentation as information. And if there is any interest in partnering with us on the funded pilot program, I just ask that you refer us to a staff member and we'll work with them to bring a report and recommendation back to council. So with all that being said, thank you very much for taking the time to watch the presentation, and I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you very much, Jacob. Yeah, Kelly and I were pretty excited when we ran into this booth at FCM. Council, do you have any questions for Jacob? Councilor Rich.
Hi, Jacob. Thank you for the presentation. I think I know my answer. You'd said that Nelson did 2 pilot programs. So if we wanted to start at the 50 household spot, and then within 2 days, we're out of equipment and we need to get 50 more, are we still able to access those grants?
Yes, absolutely. So 50 households, and thank you for your question, Councillor. 50 households is the minimum to sign on to a program, but then from there, whether it's a surge of demand at the start and there are 50 or 100 or however many more residents who are interested, or it's 2, 3, 4 months down the line, a year down the line, we will honor the pricing that's presented in this presentation moving forward. And I mean, we have a warehouse in Vancouver, we have another one in Ontario, so we have the inventory. We're not too far away, and basically just however resident demand and budgets influence the program, we're flexible and we're able to adapt.
Thank you.
Councilor Bailey.
Yeah, I've seen these types of programs before, and I know you have the retail price listed at 800, but there's a lot of these different machines on the marketplace, right? So I'm just wondering why this one is different, or is it in comparison to your other competitors?
Thank you. I appreciate the question. So we are, and I'm being completely honest in saying this, we're the only company who has this technology who is actually running municipal programs. We're the only ones who have federal funding from the government to put towards municipalities to help divert their food waste. So while there may be similar technology out there, we are the only ones who run these programs. We're at almost 100 municipalities now, and we're well versed with the managing of the programs. I think I mentioned before that it is a partnership. So this isn't a sale in any way. This is a partnership where we are right alongside you every step of the way. We have our implementation team, our customer care team, and this is just something where we do take a lot of pride in being the only company to have these municipal programs.
Ian, the question answered?
Well, yeah, in a way. I mean, I'll just, my personal preference is like, I really encourage this technology from the marketplace. I would love to see people adopt it. I mean, the pricing is quite competitive online. Like I've seen your machine on for $500 that's selling on Amazon or others. Like there's a vast array of technology that's coming forward, and the private sector and the marketplace is providing this. I would say, we're a little bit different here in Sicamous. Obviously, the CSRD is in charge of the waste management stuff. So maybe this is something they want to look at. I would say we'd have to be very careful with how we deploy our funds and where we're going to put $10,000 here and there. When there's a whole range of options for people who want to do, composting in their homes already. So I just thank you very much for the presentation. I think there's, as technology goes forward, this is going to be an important part of tackling climate change. I just think I would need a little more convincing. It's kind of where I'm at.
Councilor Bushel.
Through the chair, thank you, Jacob. That's a great presentation and looks like a nice product. Just going to ask you about
Maybe shut your mic off and talk.
The refillable filters, are they like cleanable or you replace them?
Yep, so they're refillable and cleanable. So essentially what you would do is, so the filters, they have activated charcoal in them, and that makes sure that there's no smell that comes out of the machines. Because food waste is quite smelly, especially when it's being processed. So with these refillable filters, the activated charcoal, once it is spent after 3 or 4 months, I will mention it is biodegradable, so that can actually be put in the garden or in a compost bin. And then you can just refill it with new carbon and your filters are good to go again.
Okay, you supply that carbon, do you?
Yep, we supply it, and I guess I'll give the example of in our Nelson program, because their program is such a large scale, we've actually put kind of bulk carbon dispensers in their grocery stores so that residents within their program can just come with their filters free of charge to residents, and they can just fill it up. In our smaller programs, we do have an online portal for residents where they can come and get exclusive access to our refillable filters and extra buckets and things like that as well.
Great, thank you.
Thank
Council
you.
Beach.
Thank you, Jacob. I think this is really exciting, and I do wonder though, with a reduction so significant in a, you know, when you use it daily, they must have a step where they have to store the soil before they take it to a bin in the district. I'm just thinking in a municipality, if you were collecting the soil from these things for a municipality, because it looks like it reduces considerably. So you wouldn't be putting more organics on top of that, right? And running it until it's full. You'd be emptying that dirt and storing it temporarily in another bin. Is that how it works?
Yes, thank you for the question. And yes, that's how it works. So basically, once your cycle is done, you would dump out the bucket from the machine, which all the buckets, they come right out of the machine. It makes it very convenient. Some people even store their bucket on the counter while their machine is down in the basement. But to answer your question, you would dump out that the byproduct, and because it's reduced so much, even if you were collecting it in another bucket in your home, I mean, you can go through the full winter with not even filling up a 5-gallon tub, and then by the time spring planting comes around, you'll have a nice amount right there. Or if it's being collected by the district, then yeah, it can be stored indefinitely as well. So if it is in a separate bucket, then as long as it's kept out of a wet place and there's not water dripping into that bucket or anything, it can be stored indefinitely.
Thank you. That means that it's, you know, it's not like a weekly trip to the bin or something. So I think that is a real plus for it as well, that it reduces to such a small amount. I think it's a great idea. I have done some research on countertop composters, and this turning it into actual soil that's odorless is one of the first times I've run into this. So I'm really interested in it. Thank you for your presentation.
Thanks, Pam.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Councillor McCabe?
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, so we're asking the resident about this, the way it's put forward here, 150 for the residents to pay, and suggesting a $100 subsidy from the municipality. But we're in a situation here where our recycle goes to the regional district. So if we were to partake in this, I think it would be subject to the regional district subsidizing possibly the municipal subsidy, because we'd be reducing fill in their landfill, not ours.
Thanks, Malcolm.
Yes, thank you for the comment. If I may just make a quick comment. Something that we're especially seeing here in Ontario is we've had lower tier municipalities or municipalities within a county system who they have signed on, and then because there have been multiple municipalities within that county or multiple lower tiers, that essentially does put pressure onto the upper tier or the governing body of the county. And we actually have multiple countywide programs in Alberta and then in Ontario as well, where We have seen it start at the county or the district or the upper body level, and then get implemented for the lower tier municipalities, but we've also seen it go the other way where it starts with the lower tiers and then the municipal or the regional district steps in and then they further subsidize as well. So just out of our experience, we've seen it go both ways.
Councillor Rich.
Just another question. Do you guys have any kind of rebates? So if this is kind of out of our budget, because we're a little town, but we love the program and we advertise it for you guys, do you have any rebates where, hey, I'm from Sycamoose, you get $50 off when you order it or something like that? So the average person who's interested in this program kind of gets a rebate because our town is saying, hey, we really need this, but it's not within our taxpayers' budgets?
I appreciate the question, and unfortunately, we don't have rebates in that format, but what we do have is a really great government relations and grant research team here. So if you are aware of any grants that are either at the provincial level or at the federal level that could go towards a program in Sycamoose, or you wanted us to research to see if there were any grants that we can get some additional funding for it, we could absolutely do that. But in terms of strictly having rebates for residents, it's not part of the program for us.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Beach.
I just want to make a comment on the fact that it is a regional district landfill, yes, but we are the site of many condos here, and condo users really don't have access to composting. And I really feel like most of their organics probably goes in the garbage, and I've lived in a condo, so I kind of know the house. Just a point for us to think about. We do have a responsibility, I think, even though the landfill is the regional districts, we all use it. And anyways, thank you, Jake.
Thanks, Pam.
Thank you.
CAO Bennett.
Yes, further to your point, and we actually pay for the landfill on our tax requisition through the regional district. So having a little conversation here with Bianca, we also have what's called CAREP, Carbon Action Revenue Incentive Program, and we have about $60,000 in that we could apply those grant monies to a potential acquisition. So maybe what I would suggest is leave it with staff, and we can do some correspondence with the regional district, as well as with Jacob and his team. And we can bring this back in the fall when we talk about next year's budget and see how we can, if council desires at the time when we have a bit more information, how we could potentially roll this out if we decide to move forward with it.
Thank you. Yeah.
Everybody?
I just have, and to Councillor Bailey, to your comment, yes, every individual can do this if they want to, but if it is a program, we'll have more success. So that's so, I think it's if the municipality gets involved, the residents will get involved. The other thing is to staff, yes, I think that's a great idea. Can we also do some reference checks and just see how Nelson's doing with their pilot project and see if we can get a couple more of that before we sign up? And then the third thing is, yes, I think we should talk to the CSRD, although I think just being a good citizen is just being a good citizen. But maybe we should have Jacob present to the CSRD too. So this can be a bigger, we can cast a bigger net. So,
Yeah, good idea.
okay. Anyone else? Jacob, thank you so much for your presentation today. Appreciate it.
Thank you very much, Madam Mayor and members of council and staff, and have a great rest of your day.
We'll be in touch. Thank you, you as well.
Thank you. Take care.
Okay, where am I? Okay, we have recreation and events, second quarter update. I think Jamie's sitting in the back of the room there. Jamie, you want to take it away?
Through the chair. Thank you, everybody. Bear with us. This is the first time we are using the new Canva presentation, so fingers crossed it goes very well. All right, so just to get started, we are just going to recap a little bit of what we looked after for in the fall or in the spring.
Jamie, just hang on a sec. There's a lot of feedback and I don't know if anyone online can hear that. Are you guys in the gallery or are you hearing
Shut that off.
back? You don't hear the feedback. It's just up here.
Hear anything?
Can you hear us? Brian, or can you hear us? Like, are we okay? Okay, good.
Is that better, Colleen?
Yeah, it sounds a little bit better. Speak loud, though.
All right, I'm definitely good at that. So we're just gonna go over and recap some of our spring programs that we offered. So we actually had quite a number of programs going in the spring. It seems to be right now that we've got through the downward COVID, our programs are definitely starting to blossom. So of course, our main program that we run is our after-school program. Our after-school program is averaging 15 kids. This was 14, I corrected it, we're up to 15 kids per day. Today is our last day of our after-school program. So the kids are celebrating, the instructors are celebrating, we're taking a short break and then moving into our summer kids program. We ran a sunflower growing competition this year and we had 9 families participate. So we created a little Facebook group for that and the kids submit their little pictures and showing them us planting their sunflowers, showing them growing. And at the end of September, we will give away some pretty cool prizes to these kids. And it's just a great way to, you know, follow up with Deb's work with Community in Blooms, keeping the families going and getting the families interested in growing just little things like this. I reached out to a couple that were offering what was called the PAL course, so that's firearm safety course. And I just took a stab in the dark to see what that would look like. Lo and behold, I sold out 48 spots in less than 36 hours. Who knew that that course was going to be as popular as it was? And it is so popular that we've actually set up another set of classes again in September, where we'll be doing a non-restrictive and a restricted. So those who want to carry and shoot handguns and stuff, they can come to one course, and those that just want to be able to keep their license current so they can do their hunting, we'll do another day. We're still working with yoga classes. So we do have, what we've switched into this year is where you can either pay for the full session or you can do a drop-in option. This is actually working very well for our programs. For our yoga programs, we offer 2 different programs. Each one of those paid 3 people that paid for the full session. Then we had a few others that would come in on a drop-in basis. So we not always covering its cost, but it's getting pretty close to it, which is quite good. The pickleball, we did the exact same thing on Thursday nights at the high school once we were able to get back into the schools again this year, which was great. We had 10 wonderful people sign up for the full 8 weeks of pickleball. And over that 8 weeks, we had 120 drop-ins. So pickleball is definitely very popular and they definitely like using it over at the high school. It's a bigger gym for them, so we will keep that in place for next year. The Pound Fitness class with Samara Palmer is always quite popular. We had 9 ladies sign up for the full session, and we had 25 different ladies drop in throughout the 8 weeks that she ran that program with us. We had 32 kids registered for dance classes. We had 6 kids learn how to stay home alone safely. And we had 10 kids registered for our Learn to Play softball program with 2 kids on the wait list. So we can find an extra instructor or volunteer next year. That would be great because the supply and demand is there. Our recreation guide is growing. We're making great strides. Lots of partners here in the community getting their information out, and that's is actually helping them build their attendance, I guess I should say, to their programs that they're doing. So that is working really well. And our Amelia program has proven to be a very essential key to our programs. I talk with the ladies down here, they're like, no one's coming in to register for rec programs because they can do it online. So they have time to handle the taxes and stuff, especially this time of year when it's probably the busiest for registration. So our community Easter egg hunt was one of the few events that we had this spring. We had 154 children come and enjoy the day. We couldn't have done this without the support of the Eagle Valley Community Support Society, the Sickness and Malco Early Years Table. Donna Helgeson there is always one of my biggest volunteers for our children's event. I don't know what I do without Donna. not looking forward to much retires. We had the Okanagan Library Sickness Branch there, we had the fire department there, we had the Swansea Point Fire Department, we had Counselor Beach and Karen East led all their help and insights for the community, and it was a very well attended. So what's new for the summer of 2023? So you can see on the left there, that is our lovely Angela Kylo, and you will be offering some paddleboard classes for newcomers, those who like to do some paddleboard yoga, as well as offering some children's programs for us as well this year. We have partnered up with Rick Thompson up at Mary Hills Golf Course to present a ladies golf clinic and a juniors golf clinic. We have 21 ladies registered for the ladies golf clinic. Oversubscribed by quite a bit, but Rick's done an amazing job to make it all work with everybody. There was 2 instructors, unfortunately one moved on, so Rick's been looking after it by himself. And then the last one here was something new that I stole from another community. I thought, you know what, let's think about Mary Poppins. Let's bring your families down. Let's pretend that we're gonna jump into that sidewalk chalk art, and we're gonna give each family a meter of sidewalk to decorate with all different types of chalks and things that can be, as Daryl said, washed off with rain. And so here in Covenant families signed up for this event. So I expect it to be a popular event. And of course, if you're not registered, that's fine. You can join in for us on July the 20th. Our Summer Kids Club program. We have 560 spaces available. That's 14 kids over 39 days over the course of the summer. As of today, we have 347 of those spaces already reserved, with over 20 different children that will be attending. Predominantly mostly locals, which is what we like to see. But we're really excited this year. We've hired on Danielle Lamy. She's been our activity leader for the after school program. She's going to be our team lead in this program, and she is already developing a full summer full of crafts and activities and things. It's going to take a lot of pressure off of me not having to do all that planning for the program for the summer. And so she's got a reward system. So kids will be doing reading, they'll be doing crafts, they'll be doing scavenger hunts, they'll be having field days, they'll be spending some time down at the beach, but she plans on keeping the kids as busy and as occupied as she can, so she doesn't want to hear anybody say I'm bored. So that's her goal for the summer. And we have hired back 2 of our instructors from last year, Sunny Pickup and Angela Foster, and we brought in a lovely girl that we met, Emerald Hefner, who will be a new greenie, as we call her, for the program, but we hope to keep her on for a couple of years, so she can stay with us. And then touching base, we did find a swim instructor, so I'm very happy to say that we found a swim instructor and a half. We have another young man who is going to mentor underneath our instructor Maria, who's coming back again this year. And at this point in time, we have 46 kids registered for swim. We anticipate that number to rise over the summer when grandkids start coming in to visit their grandparents and such. So as it stands right now, we have 21 students involved. We have 10 juniors registered for junior golf, 9 registered for the sidewalk party, 46 registered for swim, and 5 already registered for stand-up paddleboard classes. So the summer is looking very positive for activities for the preparation. So now on to the illustrious events of summer. So Canada Day weekend, of course, is just a couple of days away. So working together with the other groups, the Sycamore seniors will be hosting their pancake breakfast from 8 a.m. to 11 a.m. The Brush and Art show right here in Council Chamber starting tomorrow evening, running through till Monday. We have the Eagle Valley Arts Council putting on a children's festival from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. at the Red Barn. And then the District of Sycamore events will start at 4 o'clock at the Beach Park. So a few of you probably remember a few years ago before COVID, we had the still walkers blowing fire and things like that down at our Christmas light up. We've hired that group to come in. They will be having roving entertainers. They'll be setting up ring toss. They have carnival games. They got a mini putt course that they're set up. So all family orientated for what we have. And then we have hired in 2 wonderful bands called West Coast Slackers, an up and coming country rock band. They've just signed a contract, recording contract, so we're excited to have them. And then we have a ZZ Top cover band called Cheap Sunglasses that will be rounding off our night before the fireworks take off. And then on a Sunday afternoon, we're very excited to be working with the Sears Car Show, and they will be having their annual car show once again. So this here is just a little snippet of the band, but for time's sake, some of the presentations that long, I will kind of slip past that for everybody. This is our family fun day. We got Councillor Bushel up there. Looking for it. So just a reminder, mayor and staff, and council, that family fun day is August the 5th. We're partnering once again with the Chamber of Commerce. We'll be having the cardboard boat races, sandcastle competition, children's talent show, and Sycamore House Boats has stepped up once again, and they are donating a boat in exchange for this bounce houses to come in for the day. And there's something else I was gonna say about, but can't be that important, so I forgot. So yeah, so we will get all that in place for the day, run from 10 until 2. And please let me know who can be there, and so we can kind of start organizing the day and getting the permits and such in place. The other summer events that we're working with is the Music in the Park, which starts this Monday night down at the beach park. It'll be the first annual Sick Ride car show that will be taking place on Saturday, July the 29th. Sycamore Pickleball Club will be hosting a pickleball tournament that weekend. And I just got off the phone with Jake DeWitt, and apparently, even though he didn't get his full tournament going, he is going to be, so there will be some ball taking place in the park for that weekend as well. So there is some things that are going to be happening all throughout the summer. So what are we working on for the fall? So some of to put out a recreation survey to the community to see if we're hitting the mark, where we're missing the mark, what we can improve on, what they would like to see us bring in. And of course, we're seeking out some funding to see if we can eventually put together a recreation master plan to see where we're lacking in facilities and where we can go from there. Danielle Lammy, who I've already mentioned, is a certified learn to skate instructor for kids. So we're looking at booking some ice time at the rec center during the daytime hours where the ice is plentiful, for her to offer a toddler program for those before they go into the hockey or the figure skating. We are working with Essie's Place and hoping to have some community workshops with them to bring them in to talk about the language and the meanings of words and things like that, just to keep the community abreast of what's going on with that community. I'm very excited to say for the first time in the 8 years that I've been with the district, that the school board has actually granted me access and has booked me in to run programs in the fall. Typically, I have to wait till September to get the go ahead. They've already sent the contracts, and I can say that we will be running recreation programs 4 nights a week between Parkview and the high school. So we'll be adding a drop-in ball or drop-in basketball night. We'll be adding a drop-in floor hockey night along with the pound and the pickleball. So we'll have 4 nights of recreation activity. Same as what we've been doing. You can pay for the full session, or you can pay for a drop-in for when you're only able to come. I'm working on a jumpstart grant right now to create a girls empowering movement program. So this will be to get girls out and active, talk about body image, talk about nutrition, and just all those things to, talk about why we shouldn't be bullying each other, why we should be building each other up instead of tearing each other down. So I will know about that grant application about late August. And then I am working hopefully with Ashta, just down the road. She's a Métis art teacher. And so we're hoping to have maybe some drum building workshops, some dream catcher workshops. So we're just working on ironing out some of those details, as well as we are working with BCRPA to potentially get a Choose the Move program, which is for active seniors or non-active seniors to get them active and motivated in nutrition. And we're working on a Generation Health program as well, which is offered by Inter Health, and that's to help families, learn about nutrition, exercise programs, things like that. All those last 2 programs are actually free of charge to the general public. So other events that we're working on for the fall is the Come Try It Day. So some of our new programs, let new families, because there's a lot of new families in town, come try out an activity. They, have to pay up front for it. We're going to change our Halloween event. Instead of having an afternoon, we're going to work and make it a Halloween family dance. And then of course, I can't remember what's underneath the Halloween party. Oh, the light up right in the holiday train. That's kind of that's the end of my spiel. I hope any questions.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Jamie. That's That's a lot. I think I would be interested in paddleboard yoga, except I've never paddleboarded, so I need to learn that. Yoga, I've never yogaed, so I need to. learn that. And but first, before I do any of that, I need to learn how to swim because I can't swim. So that's the one that interests me the most.
In lessons.
Swimming lessons.
Sign her up.
Anyway, no, great job. I think that for Family Day, Saturday, council has traditionally stepped up to the plate and we've done that. We've done the cook the burgers and serve the
August,
burgers.
August.
Sorry, the August long weekend. Yeah. What did I say?
Family Day.
Okay.
Family fun day.
It's family fun day.
It's family fun day.
Geez, you guys, you're a tough crowd today. Anyway, so I think council, are we still up for that challenge? Are we still going to look after that? We might as well let Jamie know that she does not need to do that. We will.
Absolutely.
Burgers and we'll do it all. Perfect. And council, anything else? Council Beach.
Jamie, as usual, you've done an excellent job just gathering everything. Now you've got the school district on your side, so big plus, yeah. Anyways, very good work. Thank you.
Councilor Bushel.
Through the chair, great job, Jamie. It's good to hear you got the school on side and I know it's always been really tough for you to try to plan anything without having them on side. So that's really good to see. So looking forward to seeing you. You got quite the crew all put together for the summer and sounds like you're going to be pretty busy. So look forward to it. Great job on the rec program. That looks really good. Thank you.
Council, anyone else? Councilor McKay.
Thank you. Yeah, so good participation with the pickleball. So I think good choice from staff and council to convert those 2 tennis courts into 6 pickleball courts. So, and I think that they're closing when's that work scheduled?
I just actually spoke to the gentleman this morning, and they're hoping to be finished up by end of day, if not first thing tomorrow morning. And his goal still is to have the courts open officially for July 1st, so Saturday.
Excellent. Anyone else? Councilor Beach.
Just clarification. Was it 6 pickleball courts and no tennis courts
No,
that you're
there's
referring
one.
to?
Have 1 tennis court.
Yeah,
Converted 2 of the tennis courts into 6 pickleball.
and 6 pickle.
Yes.
Okay, just checking.
Tennis.
I don't play regularly, but I have
Thank you so much, Jamie. Great job. We appreciate it.
There's one tennis court.
Okay, moving right along, Sycamoose Community Healthcare Center, second quarter update. Karen, floor is all yours.
It's a presentation.
They're good.
Everybody's moving around. It's summer.
2, 3 pictures.
I saw them all in.
So all practitioners at the clinic are accepting new patients. We've all got a little bit of room in their panel. We don't have the exact numbers at this stage, but then you'll just sort of monitor it as we go. So they're all accepting new patients. And that is if somebody doesn't have a family doctor. If they already have a family doctor, they can't do that. So, and there are 600 that don't have a family doctor, so that's going to be. Walk-ins, since January of 2023, approximately 7% of all visits were walk-in patients. We always do our best to accommodate patients, but we do ask, if possible, if they call in first, just so that we can either book them in that day or a couple of days later, depending on the urgency of the situation. So, and that season is really ramping up right now. Walk-ins are make up a big part, more so in the third quarter of the year. So, Dr. Edmondson is primarily the walk-in doctor, although nurse practitioner Jen Balfour. She has longer appointment times, so it isn't always doable. She does her best to accommodate as well.
So telehealth appointments, typically in the last quarter, last half actually accounted for about 43% of total appointments. It does go up to at least 50% or up to 50%. One of the good things that came out of COVID, I think that the health authorities have started to realize that telephone appointments are just as valid, and they are, the doctors aren't penalized for doing telephone appointments. So it's really made a big difference for convenience for patients for sure, and for some urgent situations where you can't get in. So that's a good thing, the telephone appointments thing is a really big bonus. Eagle Valley Secondary School Wellness Clinic. We were going to wait till the fall to get that up and running, but we decided that we would try to get it started in the spring. And so Jen Balfour is the nurse practitioner going over. It says Wednesdays. It's actually every second Wednesday for a few hours in the afternoons. And it's the uptake was slow the last for May and June because it was new. But definitely a lot of interest, and we're looking at ways of promoting it a little bit more within the school. There's also mental health support there and options for sexual health. So that's so students can just sort of pop in anonymously, and it's a really nice addition to the school and to the practice and to like community health center. But just by definition, it's like community doing everything they can to support everybody. So I don't know if this is a trailer for a film that I was invited to the premiere viewing of it through UBC. I really encourage people to watch this. This is just a trailer, but and the time we don't really necessarily need to watch it, but it's about rural health and remote health in particularly, and the show really focuses on First Nations health. And it really is like RCCBC, which is the Rural Coordination Center of BC, and the Rural Health Network do work tirelessly to ensure that there is health equity. And what's really the most amazing thing about this film, and the thing that they're really advertising or encouraging is it's called the real-time virtual support system, and that's short RTVS. It's absolutely incredible. It provides 3 instant access virtual support pathways, and their acronyms are Rudy, Mabel, and Charlie. Rudy is for emergency care, Mabel is for maternity and newborn, and Charlie is for pediatrics. And all other specialties are available to rural practitioners weekdays from 9 till early afternoon. But the others like Rudy, Mabel, and Charlie are 24/7, and there's doctors that is what they do. They take these calls, and so that really. And they're done virtually, and the doctors have iPads or whatever, and they're talking directly to the patients or to the doctors that are in need of their assistance. And it really saves remote healthcare in a lot of cases, and particularly like with it's invaluable to really remote areas, especially for First Nations communities, because they have a history of abandonment. And so the continuity that this brings to those communities is huge, because continuity is building trust, which is what needs to happen. So I encourage everybody, if you get a moment it's a 22-minute film, but it is worth watching. The Rural Health Conference in Whistler, beginning of June. So Councillor Beach, Janet McLean-Sent from Eagle Valley Community Sports Society, and myself attended that in Whistler, and it was really a remarkable conference. I was just really pleased to be able to go. It was 3 full days of sessions and events. On Friday, Pam and Janet accepted the Rural BC Community Award on behalf of the District of Sicamous. And that was an evening of celebrating commitment, resilience, and lifetime achievements. So From the high attendance, it was amazing. I don't know, how many people would you say were there? Hundreds.
Yeah, it was a large attendance, I think larger than usual.
For the high attendance, the camaraderie, the workshops and the session offerings, like the passion for innovation and rural health was just really just. I attended these sessions, cultural safety, humility, practice standards, rural research, which was really intriguing for me. The Joint Planning Committee on Rural Issues, which they talked about a lot of the support systems, which are RVTS is one of them. What else did I see? The anti-Indigenous racism in healthcare. It takes a village was really close to my heart because it was Whistler municipality that spoke, and or their community health center. It's called Whistler 360, and about what they did and how they did it. And from that event or that session, made some really good contacts with the people that are at on that building. And the one Dr. Karen Kusi, who is the head of the organization, and it's really a really positive story. And from that, been invited to a group of discussion with other rural communities that are doing community health centers. I had my first conversation with them last week, and it's going to be probably a quarterly event. So it's just really remarkable what is happening out there. The uptake for community health centers and the interior health and all the health authorities are starting to take notice. So that's extremely positive. Okay, the rural team coaching through RCCBC. I applied for this program and we were denied our application this time around. But in fact, I kind of looked at that as a positive because I think once we have our operational map solidified for the new center, it'll be much more refreshed for all people involved and for the team that comes in and does the coaching. That's one thing that was they have done, and they talked about how incredible that whole process was. So I'm going to apply again in the new year, and the focus is on building a high functioning interdisciplinary team. So which is what we're working to create a new center. Also through the Rural Coordination Center, there's one of their initiatives is rural education, rural health education. And so we were approved for the funds again for this next year. So now that brings us to a nice total of $17,000 to use. It has to be used for educational purposes and some equipment. So I'm looking at getting potentially a handheld ultrasound or an AED. And the training that comes along with that. So it's a good amount of money to use. So, and then the thing with that, if you don't use it, it accrues, but if you don't use it, you might not qualify for the next year's funding. So it's get to spend money. So building the operational map for the health center. Or for the healing center. Spoke with Darren Clausen at Interior Health recently. We've been in constant conversation. There's been some leadership changes at Interior Health, and unfortunately, two of the people that were in leadership that were really champions of the project have moved on to different portfolios. And there isn't really a succession plan as far as for continuity selfishly for our project. So Darren is that person, and he is right now the acting interim director. They're doing recruiting right now, so we don't have a solid answer to whether they're coming in, and that's been one of the things that has been held out a little bit. Like lots of conversations, lots of ideas, lots of interest in individuals and services coming into the new center, but if Interior Health. Or when Interior Health, let's go with that language, agrees to come in, which makes so much sense, especially with so much focus being on community health centers and what that looks like. And how it works and the success of it. But if they don't, we have to have a backup plan, and that's what the operational map is what that my next big push. I've developed an expression of interest. There's a draft in the package, and so all kinds of feedback on that, so that we can get rolling on that. Because if Interior Health doesn't come in, we need to look at some alternatives. So, and there's lots of them to get the best team together to make this thing sing. So, and also, and Splatchy has recently appointed a new health director. His name is Jim Pawson. I haven't met him, but I believe Kelly and some of the people that were at the event on the 21st did have reached out to him by email, and hoping to have a sit down with him soon to discuss where our partnership, our ongoing partnership. So that is what's happening with that. And
Excellent, Karen. Thank you very much. Council, any questions? Councillor Bailey?
Well, more just of a, I guess, comment. Thanks very much. This is an excellent presentation. I just want to say personally, I enjoy having the healthcare center here so much. And the aspect about when you're talking about telehealth, that's pretty much how I've done all my appointments. And it is a game changer. And I think it needs to be, it's such a huge shift. And it isn't, I think, fully recognized how well it's been actually rolled out and managed. And so I just wanted to say that I think that helps a lot of people in this community get access to healthcare and not necessarily having to go to the office for many different things. And I just had one question because it piqued my interest because it's something I've never seen or heard about before. What is imposter syndrome in rural medicine?
that is,
I've never came across.
I wondered the same thing.
We all did.
To go to a different session, and I thought, I have to.
Yeah.
Because Pam and Janet and I were sort of talking about all the different sessions, and you go to this, and I'm gonna go to that, so that there was a lot of it.
Yeah.
Between the three of us. And I sat in on the imposter syndrome one, and my initial assumption was it's, about, rogue people that come in and pretend they're.
Right.
How does that happen, but it was about, how best to put this? It's about how, and in this case, doctors, were the vulnerability and the authenticity in this room. This room was packed. It was one of the last sessions. They talk about sort of how they often feel about, I don't really know what I'm doing, in certain cases, or like somebody else is better than me, or it's the human condition.
Okay.
And so, but it was really, really, it was the most powerful session of all that I went to. It really spoke to, I think, what we all struggle with at times. And it was really, one doctor, he was a specialist, he got to school in Calgary many years ago, and he talked about his first day in medical school, and he shared a scenario that made everybody cry. And it was about, just about being human, and and how we think we're perceived, or all of those things. So that's what it was about, and it was powerful. It's extremely powerful.
Thank you for that.
Councillor Rich?
Thank you, Karen, for your presentation. They're always good and informative. I got the pleasure of meeting Jen last week. What a huge asset to our community. We are so lucky to have her. And having her in the high school, I think that's absolutely fabulous that she's jumping in with 2 feet. And the high school is near and dear to me. So I love that we've got that for our kids, that bridge for them. I've got one question. Your stats say 606,718 total visits. We are taking walk-ins. What's our capacity? And you can get back to me. When are we topped out? That can be like next report, but I just am curious of where do we top out?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I'm going to figure it out because I really don't know.
Obviously not there yet.
No, I know.
You know, one person may be in 15 times, right? But
Yeah.
and some of those, of course, are telehealth, some of them are 15 minutes and some of them are 5 and some of them are 45. So it's kind of a fluid thing because every situation is different and every practitioner does, you know, conducts their practice differently. So yeah, I actually don't know the answer to that question, but I will see if I can figure it out and let you know.
Okay, and thank you. And honestly, I deal with a lot of people with clinics. I got lots of old people in my life. And I've never waited more than 2 days for doctor's appointment, which again, we really need to appreciate that in our community and recognize here in Sycamores. When I call up and I'm like, I got to get someone in, and we really need to appreciate that. Our entire community needs to be thankful for that. That doesn't happen.
Thank you for that comment because that's so true. I used to try to book appointments with my doctor in Alberta and you'd almost want to book 10.
Preventative.
We couldn't book an appointment until he opened up his calendar for the next month. And then, but you didn't know when that was going to be. And so it is amazing. And the doctors, all the practitioners bend over backwards to make sure that people are seen in a timely fashion.
And that's excellent because our new facility, which will attract more doctors and be a bigger facility, will be, you know, better service. So we're very fortunate. This community is heading in the right direction and fortunate that we purchased our clinic and we've got, you know, it's under the operation of the district now and we're keeping it. So that's excellent. Kate, Councillor Beach and then Councillor McCabe.
Through the chair. Thank you, Karen. It was a wonderful 3 days. And just hilarious with the imposter syndrome because we none of us knew what the imposter syndrome was. And we all thought, oh, you mean you have to worry about imposter doctors and but anyways, it's been around forever. A lot of people feel like no matter how skilled and how trained they are, they're not enough. And that's the imposter syndrome. We all probably suffer from it in certain situations. And so that was very enlightening. We're glad that you went to that one and we took in another culturally human Indigenous 2-hour session that was really good at the same time. But no, that was great. And I just, in terms of virtual visits, because we get requests for virtual visits at the resource center as well. So we're doing that. And often it's a request from a specialist. So I guess what I would like to know is to have some clarification if you're taking walk-ins who are not established with one of the doctors. Is that happens at your clinic? If they don't have a doctor. So is there a practice then whether or not you would do a virtual visit with who's not a patient of one of the physicians?
So, but that doesn't say that we couldn't.
Yeah. I'm just curious because we do get a lot of requests coming through us as well to organize a visit with a specialist. And so
There isn't really any reason why we couldn't do that because we do that at the Oak Clinic and often patients, often those clients are patients of the clinic and we do the virtual thing with Dr. Grams.
Okay,
so
good.
There's really, and we have a separate computer for that and so there's no reason why we can't.
Yeah. Oh, that's great. And then I also picked up this First Nations virtual doctor of the day. So you were talking about that, which is just excellent. But again, we have 40 families at least in this community. And so it would be nice, it would be nice to know that even if they weren't sort of patients, that they would be able to have a virtual visit with.
Like
With.
With the-
Past.
Yeah, yeah.
And so you have to sort of set aside separate. But, you know, there's days where, Jan works from home on Thursdays, so that's a good day.
Yeah.
So Dr. Lam works from home on Friday, so, you know, we can, you know.
You can set it up, yeah.
And give us ample time, we can make it happen.
Yeah.
For sure.
Cool.
Okay, and the viewing center, I think that's something that we can really focus on amping up.
Yeah, great, thank you.
Councillor McCabe, and we'll just,
Yeah, I just wanted to say the same thing. We're so lucky we have a community health clinic that's owned by the community and I made an appointment this week. I phoned Monday and asked for an appointment and they said, well, can you come in tomorrow? And I'm, sure.
What, not ready?
Yeah, it's an emergency. No, but we're just, that's just amazing. That doesn't happen very many places in BC or our bet in Canada. So we've got a great service. Thank you.
okay, thank you so much, Karen. Great presentation. Okay, 2023 Union of BC Municipalities Convention Meeting Request. Kelly and Sarah, take it away.
Thank you through the chair. So this was presented to council at the June 14th meeting, the upcoming UBCM convention in Vancouver, meeting request with the cabinet ministers. So we're just bringing it back. Staff is bringing it back for you to consider one more time. I know Councillor Evans had asked for some time to consider any topics that we might want to proceed with. So it's up for discussion at this point. Some clarity on some as well. Correct, to the chair. We're also seeking some clarity around, what the request is for flood and fire mitigation with Emergency Management BC, as well as the topic of decriminalization, mental health and addiction with the Ministry of Mental Health and Addiction. So if we could get some clarity on that.
Absolutely, and that was going to be my question. And we can start at the top. Let's start with the very first one. And if we know, or what are we looking for with Ministry of Health with the Shuswap Healing Center? Are we looking for funding or, yeah, go ahead, Kelly.
On that note, Sarah has already prepared backgrounders for each of these with a purpose. I don't know if we have them here, but so for example, on the healing center, we're bringing it to their attention and asking for operational funding.
Okay.
To maybe tug on interior health strengths,
Perfect.
right?
Okay.
So this one, we didn't really have an ask. What is, circle back on that one maybe, or do we want?
So maybe we just, Pam, what are you thinking on
I'm
that?
sorry, I can't read it.
It's right here.
Health, mental health and addictions.
Decriminalization.
Oh, I
mental
don't,
health,
okay, I
and
don't have
addiction
it up.
support.
Thank you.
No
Ian.
problem.
Okay.
I'll share.
Great. All right, yeah, so I did send through something by email, but maybe too late to Sarah. Can you hear me there? So I think this is to keep reinforcing that you can't just dump part of a plan on a community, and think we're going to be happy to get that you're doing something if it's not the right piece of the plan. And I think we need to keep educating them that decrim was not the first thing that they should have done, that we need more treatment and access and recovery and detox. So it's not an ask for funding per se, but it is an education on how that impacted us as a rural community. And we know that it impacted a lot of rural communities that were just clamoring to do something about that. Okay, so it's an education, and I don't know how high up on the priority list that is going to be.
Okay, well, we can just kind of wrap our heads around that a little bit more and see if there's, if there's 2 or 3 ministry things, maybe we can put them all together and just kind of tuck some of those things in with the other one. Go ahead, Councillor McCabe.
Yeah, on this topic, Ministry of Mental Health and Addictions. Yeah, all respect him or Councillor Beach. Can't really go there and give the ministry shit. We have to go for
Yes.
an ask. So
Yeah.
they don't want to just get reprimanded.
Well,
You won't.
I'm not stupid enough to reprimand them, but I think they need to know the impact of what they did. They have to know how it played out in our community. And why we're concerned. That's fine. Let's write a letter. I don't care. We don't have.
That's probably a better choice. Absolutely.
That's what I'm
Yeah.
saying.
Okay,
I just think we need to.
we can't go in there and go, okay, so we want to talk about this topic.
Okay, so let's write a letter.
Great.
Let's keep telling them what.
That makes,
Counselor Rich.
And I'm just thinking out loud on this one, or through the chair. Is it that we're asking for more support from our outward sports? So we don't have something in Sycamoose, but we rely on Salmon Arm and Kamloops and those kind of things. So is it saying, hey, we need the backing in these places? So if we have a mental health in Sycamoose, what we do is we then send someone to Salmon Arm or Vernon or to Kamloops. And we need to make sure that we have funding and spots for our families and people here, and that we can get them there quickly and they're going to get the care they need.
Agree. However, devil's advocate, we need to go up the chain. We just can't go to the top and ask and miss everybody in the middle. So Sarah?
Through the chair, I did send an email today that came from UBCM. The province is seeking input from local governments, elected officials and senior staff regarding drug use in public spaces. So that would be a good way to connect and let them know how.
Yeah, so maybe we take this one off and we jump on that one. Counselor Bailey?
Can I just ask how many of these we possibly can do?
We can do as many as we like. It just,
What's realistic, I guess. I'm
you
good.
know what?
8.
Yeah,
Eight.
8 to
Okay.
10. So, and we don't always get every request. So there's these requests and then there's a whole nother group of staff
Well,
requests.
it just gives us a benchmark. Like if it's 8, that's reasonable, then we know we got to get this.
Yeah, and it all depends on the time slot too, because we have literally sprinted from
Right.
one building to another. And if you can't make it, you can't make it. I mean,
we're running shoes.
yeah, wear running shoes if you want to make them all be on time.
Okay.
Okay, next one is community forest.
This is we met last year. It was a really good meeting. It was with Spotson and Enderby. We haven't really heard an update, so we're just pounding on that door again to ask for an update.
Perfect.
And Owlhead Mountain Bike Park, an update on where's our section 57, some bangs, some chains there.
So can we put those together, all those? Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Yeah, they're just here separately so we can identify each one.
Invasive species, again, all we can do is lobby and advocate. We're not gonna
Yeah,
write letters, and I know, Pam, you want to go to David Eby.
It's important.
It's really important, but again, it's not a UBCM meeting.
Yeah.
And wastewater treatment, yes.
carrying areas.
Yeah, well, maybe not one. We did talk about asking for the authority for Aldi to do that. So that could be the ask.
Correct.
And that's in line with our resolution that's going. forward.
That's right. Yeah.
That would-
Oh, I agree. I missed that one. Yeah.
As well as process times.
Yeah, but if the province allowed us to go ahead and approve that, as long as we're doing it the proper way, then we deal with that. The process times issue goes away, right? The process time is on the province. So it's just in line with our resolution that we got passed at Silga and going to UBCM.
Okay, next one.
Wastewater.
Yeah, we should, that one is. Go ahead,
Before
Gordon.
you go up past the repairing area, Kelly, were they going to speak to us before UBCM?
We have them lined up for the July 28th committee of the whole. So we have the individuals who are running the repairing areas regulation branch within the province. Yes, they are coming to the committee of the whole on the 28th of July.
Excellent.
And I think,
Go ahead, Malcolm.
and I think that there's a separate committee set up by the province to deal with repairing referrals if it involves affordable housing.
Okay.
Oh,
I think
really?
Scott wasn't that? I haven't heard that. There was just.
Well, maybe we could have a look into that. Maybe staff could look into that to see if.
Yep. Okay, so Ministry of Environment, wastewater treatment. So this is about our capacity. So we are going to be having a meeting with the staff there. I don't know if it's worthwhile to have two meetings. We could have our appeal prior to this meeting. I don't know.
Let's play it by ear.
Okay, so we'll look at and see.
Yep.
Okay.
Go ahead.
We are.
Maybe ask Daryl on that one. Would we be wrecking any relationships you're building by doing that or what?
Sure. Hope not. I don't think so. We've continued to push from my level really hard. We have gotten some direction back from them, and it's quite a prescriptive amount of things they need now to see in terms of supplemental reports and extra study. So I've got something that I'm navigating through now. I don't think it hurts to have these in place if we need them. So yeah, we'll just keep pushing it in front, get it in front of them. And if things are going well and we've got our application in the way that they like, it might not hurt to get in front of them and just say, keep us in mind, this is really important to us. It's coming through the chain. So
Good idea. Okay, and then we've got the highway corridor access plan, which I think that we should be there for sure.
And then the
Narrows,
Pedestrian Bridge, so funding.
Yeah.
Pedestrian Bridge,
I think that's
that's a good one.
yep, and we can put that, yeah. That can fall under different departments, different ministers,
Yeah, and it could even municipal of
of,
I'm thinking. Yeah,
yeah.
Yeah.
Affairs.
yes.
Counselor McKay.
Yeah, so we talked about the pedestrian bridge there and we were hoping that that $50,000 grant we would have finalized and have the output of that with some Class D estimates or whatever and maybe some conceptuals that we could use as an input to this meeting to ask for funding for the next step towards design.
Where are we at with that? Like, when's the study?
So Daryl and I are meeting next week with Southern Systems. Then I would say be wrapped up in the fall, probably. I think probably before this meeting, so.
Before this meeting? Give them a little nudge.
So we could hit it with.
Yeah, could we have information to take with us? I think it's Councilor McKay's ask. Okay. Okay, flood and fire mitigation.
So this is where we weren't really sure what the ask was.
Are we still looking for dredging the channel? Are we still looking for flood mitigation with a flood wall? Are we still, are those, they seem like things we were wishing for, but now we're just so beaten back by not touching the water. It's like, should we?
I think we should still push for it. Especially like even dredging the channel, like, it's
Channel needs dredging.
some new RAR reports that are, it's not very favorable for salmon. And it's a good rearing area, but not a spawning area for sure. And we should keep pushing for the dredging, and we should also, I think, still push for, there might be some program where flood mitigation or flood wall can still happen.
Well, maybe we can look up, maybe staff can find us some new angles to attack that one on.
Yeah, and the other thing too, I'll add, there could be some developments that are happening on the channel that are going to be giving up their 3 meters, and there'll probably only be a couple marinas on the channel that haven't given up their 3 meters pretty soon, like fairly within the next few years.
Mhm. Okay, and so we'll keep that one. We'll hang on to that one and we'll put something together. And housing. Funding for housing. Keep fighting for that.
So
Councilor
specific,
Dave.
thank you. So specifically, this is for 217 to 25 Main, our expression of interest, that let them know that we're putting that out there. And we're hoping that the respondents could have access to funding to respond to our expression of interest sort of thing. So
Yep.
Perfect.
Yep, and that's 10 meeting requests.
And that's perfect. And can we get we get these sent out to us so that if we have any questions or anything that we want to add to the report or to the meeting requests, and we can,
Well, they're due June 30th.
that would be 2 days.
Yeah.
That's a tight schedule. Okay, well, we trust the staff's gonna do a great job.
Yeah, and we do the backgrounder and then when we're at the meeting, that's, we can
We'll all have our binders.
throw some other stuff on there, but I've been reviewing it. We know the gist of what everybody's looking for. And so we brought this here a few times. So, and Sarah can send out before we actually book everything. I mean,
Mhm.
got them mainly drafted. She can send them out. So if there's one that's somebody's particularly sensitive about, that they can read it,
Okay, and then we'll fake
feedback.
council and mayor who's doing what, right? Okay, Sarah, go ahead. You're good? Okay, let's move on then because we're running out of time. Portable washroom and shower unit. Daryl, the floor is yours.
Sure. We still own a portable washroom. So we've advertised and we put a reserve. We didn't put an actual price. We just said, give us a bid. We have a reserve on it. And just based on our discussion through finance and some of the previous meetings, we were hoping to review,
Some,
a good chunk of what we spent on it 7 years ago. I got one bid back formally, and it was from somebody on the West Coast. A company on the West Coast, and it fell way short of what we were looking for. He did the office 25,000 for it. That was the only formal bid. Had some phone calls, had some discussion, was trying to put a couple of user groups that are currently renting it once in a while together to try to share it. That didn't happen. So I guess where we are right now is I have an offer, a verbal offer from the nonprofit group, the IPE. And they've been renting it from us. They're the only continual steady renter that we have. And so typically we'll send it to them 4 days a year for their IPE event. They do have maintenance in it. They have a ceiling of 45, that's what they've told me. And that's all I've got for an offer. So,
what was our cost on that?
you know.
120?
Yeah. 20 is what I was too, yeah. So
How long ago? When did we build it?
16, 17.
Yeah, in 17, we started renting it out. To date, we've sent it out and recovered 23,000 in revenue and another 12,000 in kind where we forgave some debt to the Stomp and some other places. So we've got about 35,000 of value from it. And they're offering 45. So we put that together, we're around 80, paid 127 years ago. So
For the chair, Daryl, what's the reserve on it?
the reserve was just an amount I had as a baseline. I wasn't going to entertain anything, below 70 is what
70 is what you were thinking.
around the finance meetings. So
Councillor McCabe.
Well, council's interested in letting it go. Staff is interested in letting it go. If 45 is the best offer, it's still public use at the IPE. So it still sort of stays in the public sector.
Councillor Bailey.
I say keep it. 45 is way too low. I mean, if there's some value we can get out of it, still we can use it, then why would we give it away at 45? I mean, that's just my opinion.
Councillor Rich and then Councillor Evans.
Two things is, does it cost us any money? And is it something that we could drop at the bottom of Owlhead Bike Park before we have facilities put in? Because that's going to go through super fast, I know. And we're going to have a lot of people there and we're not going to have bathrooms. I don't know. For 45, it just seems like we're giving it away. And they're going to rent it anyways.
Councillor Evans. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Councillor.
through the chair, I can answer best I can. It does cost us a little bit of money. I mean, we do have it insured. And we do get the one rental every year. So there's a big super clean on it and you know, the hot water demand tanks have to go in, or the heaters have to go in and come out each year, and it gets winterized. So there's staff time to it. There's a little bit of a cost to it every year just to have it. Could it work at Allohead? Allohead would be challenging because the gravity system starts there, so it's really shallow. I'm not sure how we would feed that to the first manhole in that road. So there's some challenges with it. I wouldn't say no outright. We might be able to go into the vault in the bathroom down there. I don't know. But it does need to be heated if you're going to leave it outside in freezing temperatures for everything will freeze up. So it's tricky.
Councillor Evans.
Thank you through the chair. I was just gonna say, I think it ends up costing us some money and it will more over time. And so I think I'd like to sell it to the IPE with the caveat that we get to have a Sycamoose Live More sticker on the building that stays. Just joking about that.
Gordon.
Yeah, I hate giving things away. That's a pretty reasonable deal. I mean, although Armstrong's a great community to work with, and I don't know, maybe we sell half of it to them. No, I mean, we could still use it, but I'm reserved on this one. That's a tough one.
How about we leave it out there for now? Because we're just getting into festival season and everybody's gonna start doing stuff, and then maybe this will pop up on someone's radar when, you know what, it is that time of year as opposed to pre that time of year. So I would suggest that we just keep it out there for a little bit longer, see if we can get more money for it, because I don't want to give it away either. So I don't know. Councillor McCabe.
How about IPE owns it and we lease it off them? So part of the sale agreement is that we get right of first refusal for any function we need it for at a set price. Same way, same price they're paying us, we'll pay them, except they own it, we lease it from them. Because it does take staff time because it's on skids, so it has to be low bedded around or however it's moved. It's not on wheels. It costs even for us to get it from the operations yard to the beach park or Finlayson. We have to hire, I think, 20 acres low bed to low bedded because it's on skids.
I'm not suggesting we use it. I'm suggesting we put it on the board, not use it, and have it up for sale to see if we can get more money during festival season.
Well, I guess I was suggesting change the format of how we sell it, like you know, the IP is a public entity sort of, and it'd be used by the public, but we get right of first, we still get access to it if we need it.
Through the chair, in my conversation, yeah, you literally kind of plumb it in and to make it more permanent thing.
Okay.
I think that was the appeal of this unit. It hadn't been moved that much, and it's moving that really kind of.
Cancel that idea then.
So how does everyone feel about hanging on to it for just the next month and a half and Daryl coming and seeing if there's any more activity with it?
Yeah.
Everybody's good with that? Gord, do you want to say something or say it?
Have we reached out anywhere in the oil industry or anything?
It has gone everywhere, but specifically, no, we haven't marketed.
I think with the problem with that though, is it's gonna need to be winterized though, and when they buy units, they're already winterized. Okay, so should we hang on to it? Everybody's in favor? Daryl, can we keep it listed for another bit and see what happens?
Run it for a while, sure.
Okay, cool, thank you. Okay, we're running out of time here. Mayor and council reports. Go ahead, Councillor Evans.
I was just gonna mention that I went to the library planning strategy session last Monday in Kelowna, and we're working on many of the controversies in the library system right now about keeping the library a neutral place and not giving platform to various groups of you know, it's supposed to be a place for people to get information and that kind of thing. On the flip side, I know Spider-Man, so I got him to come to the library last week for Superhero Day, and you can see our librarian is very strong. She's as strong as Spider-Man. And they put on a superhero day for kids and I taught them how to cartoon and our library staff are awesome. So that's all I want to say.
Awesome.
Thanks.
And I agree with your library should be that, just a library. Counselor Rich.
I went to National Indigenous Peoples' Day in Enderby, bailed my kid out of school, and her and I went, and it was a really great day. Learned a lot, saw a lot, made some contacts, super fun. Listened to the planning meeting online, which is always interesting, and just again, want to give a shout out to Daryl, Garrett, and Stephen. I sent an email out to staff, but I think they need to be acknowledged. A neighbor of mine was interning a relative. They actually had 8 people from out of town. And there was a little bit of an issue and the staff was there in seconds. And this gentleman actually made a point to drive to my house to say, wow, what a fabulous job they did and how appreciative they were. And then the families actually ended up renting hotels and spending 2 more days in Sycamoose, went up the lake, hit the restaurants and went shopping. So yeah, fabulous job. You turned it around. It was really appreciated.
Good job. Go ahead, Daryl.
Yeah, let's not leave Everett out of that.
Oh, and Everett, sorry,
It's not your fault, but I don't think it was in the email. Everett was a big part of that.
he described people. Guy with a mustache, tall guy with dark curly hair. I'm like trying to guess.
Oh, that's great. Thank the guys. Counselor Bushel.
Yeah, through the chair, attended the KIJHL AGM meet and greet down at Old Town Bay the other night. The Eagles were hosting it and they had a very successful AGM for that league. And yeah, it was great to meet everybody and it was a great evening, beautiful night on the dock. Of course, we had our planning and development meeting. That's going well and we're going to take a little bit of a break over the summer. We're going to drop a couple, but if they need us, we'll be there for you, Scott. I also went to the Salmon Arm Airport open house on the last weekend. And that was a great open house. They've paved the runway and they had all the safety crew out there. Sycamoose's fire department was there. And yeah, it was a fun day. I was there for 4 hours. Well, it was open for 4 hours and a great day. And then I attended the tourism advisory council meeting by Zoom, but I got probably halfway through it and I lost my cell coverage and I booted off. So anyways, that's about it. Maybe Ian will bring you up to date because he was there the whole time.
Thanks, Counselor Bushel. Counselor McCabe.
I don't have a report.
Okay, well,
Is he enjoying summer?
good for you. Good for you. You know what? You get to enjoy summer. Counselor Beach.
Through the chair, I just want to thank Sarah for lending me the book, 21 Things You Need to Know About the Indian Act. I would highly recommend it. It has all the calls to action listed at the end of it. And I just would like to say that reading through all of the calls to action, we are addressing over time with our projects, we are addressing a lot more than I think we're addressing. It was really good. So I also did the planning meeting on the 21st and I also on the same day did the Indigenous Day ceremonies and met a few of the community health related folks and enjoyed the day immensely and saw the rest of you there. It was great to be able to attend. And I think that's all I can remember because I can't get my phone to light up again here. Anyways.
Thank you, Counselor Beach. Counselor Bailey.
And the planning and development, went to the TAC meeting or the Tourism Advisory Committee meeting yesterday. They have a lot of really, I think, great plans going forward and a little too much to get into right now because we have about 30 seconds. And went to the annual general meeting or the party on the boat. First time on a houseboat, actually. Yeah, because all I do in summer is work, so I don't go on a houseboat. But yeah, anyways, that's
awesome.
It.
Thank you. Okay, mine's going to be really quick too. First of all, I have to apologize to Jeremy and Nicole at the Sycamoose Car Wash. I have been shouting out, we need a car, we need a laundromat in town. We need a laundromat in town for so long. I think I said it the other day, and there is a laundromat in town. So, and I apologize to them. It wasn't something, it was just came out because I was saying it so much. So I do apologize to them. And yes, they had put a lot of time, energy and money into a great facility, and hats off to them. So they're doing a great job. CSRD meeting, bylaws, a draft, it was a bylaws draft on the rail trails. So we, got to tweak some of the things that we wanted to see in there. So we'll see what happens when that comes back. And the AGM for the KIG, whatever acronym. It was really good. And you'll see later in correspondence, that Sheila sent a note saying Sycamoose has raised the bar very high for their AGM. I mean, they were at Old Tom Bay, they were at GG's, they were at they all over, they went everywhere, right? So they had a great AGM. Went to Indigenous Day as well with Kelly and Sarah, and we got a couple good nuggets there. So we're pretty excited about that, and got a couple meetings scheduled. So that was great. And that's it for me. And now we're just going to quickly open up the floor to questions. Go ahead, Deb.
Couple quick things, since you guys are going to reduce schedule. As you know, the pickleball tournament is July 29th. Melinda has suggested that we could do a ribbon cutting on that day. Obviously the boards are ready before then, but there's going to be a lot of people that day. As I mentioned before, the divisions are we're working on the reservation division. So it is Saturday morning. It would be at 8:30. Not sure if any of the staff and or council could attend, but I'll just leave that. She suggested it. I think it's a great idea. We'd also want to possibly get the staff you and the Legion in there too, because they have sponsored, helped us with that. One other thing, with Communities in Bloom, we're going hard with Facebooking, and thanks to Daryl and the guys for all the work there, and Jaylene for all the work they're doing too. I had mentioned before that I'm still considering doing a feature showcase project for this year, even though we don't have the judges coming in this year. I was thinking of the beach park because of all the work that's been done there. But again, that's something we would have a little bit of time on that one. If you've got, a thought on a future project, basically we just submit pictures and such to judges don't come. So I'll just again leave that with you. Just give me a shout if you've got any thoughts on it.
Awesome. Okay. Thank you, Deb. Anyone else online? Brian?
This presentation on this compost. I'm curious to know how much how much staff time we're gonna be involved in as sales for that company. I think the district ought to be getting something back in terms of profit that they're making just to the effort. Yeah.
Okay. Note taken. Thank you. Anyone else online? Sarah? Staff? Nope, we're good. Okay. We're gonna have to quickly move. We're gonna call the committee, the COW meeting to